Overthinking is one of the most common mental conditions in the world, and unfortunately, it is also one of the most debilitating. You might think that it is no big deal. Everybody gets lost in their thoughts sometimes, right? But when overthinking hits it hits you hard. This is especially troubling if you have trouble with anxiety. Now, if you have any past experience in falling into the almost endless spiraling pit of despair that is overthinking, then you know just how horrible it is. Overthinking can prevent you from enjoying the things that you used to love doing, like going to parties, walking in the park, or just meeting with friends. Overthinking can also negatively affect your performance at work. It makes you lose motivation, makes you procrastinate on your tasks, and thus ruining whatever chances of job progression you might have. Overthinking can also ruin your personal relationships. No one wants to be around a person who is always complaining, cranky, and has such a short temper, so you will have very few friends, and they might not be sticking around for much longer. If the picture painted above seems familiar to you, then you are probably already aware that there is something wrong about you, and that you are already desperate to find a way to fix yourself and start living again. However, it seems like everything you do seems futile. It's as if there is always an insurmountable hurdle in front of you. Overthinking not only leaves you mentally drained, but it also makes you feel exhausted physically. It's like having an energy vampire latched permanently on your neck, and it is constantly feeding on what little mental and physical energy you have. However, you should not lose hope just yet. There are plenty of ways that you can use to overcome your chronic overthinking problem. But first, you need to start with understanding the core problem. You need to know what overthinking is, and from there, you can start looking for the most viable solutions. Overthinking disorder defined: everyone gets sucked into the rabbit hole of obsessive thoughts sometimes, and when it happens occasionally, then it is fine. However, when overthinking starts to consume your life, that is when it becomes a chronic mental problem. Not everyone is prone to overthink, but some are more likely to suffer from it. For instance, people with a history of struggling with anxiety are almost always dealing with overthinking and its consequences daily. In fact, overthinking is actually one of the triggers that cause anxiety in most people. Even if you do not have any history of mental health problems, if you consider yourself as a problem solver of sorts, then you are prone to overthinking. The thing you consider as your most valuable asset, which is your analytical mind, can become your worst enemy when your overthinking is triggered. Analytical thinkers are the ones that are easily pulled into an endless loop of unproductive and irrational thoughts. In addition, if you are at a low point in your life where you have unusually high levels of uncertainty, it can trigger your overthinking disorder. If you just experienced a major loss in your life, like you just got fired from your job, your significant other left you, or someone close to you recently died, these events might cause your mind to an uncontrollable spiral of unproductive thoughts. What are the symptoms of overthinking? Now that you have an idea of what overthinking is, the next thing that you need to know is the signs of overthinking to look out for. Knowing the symptoms will inform you that you might need to be wary of the status of your mental health. Maybe consider getting professional help. You can somehow gauge how deep into overthinking you are by identifying which symptoms have already manifested. If you find that you have signs of being a chronic overthinker, then you should probably consider getting professional help ASAP. You have trouble getting to sleep? You cannot turn off your thoughts, even when you try. In fact, your thoughts actually start racing even faster when you try to stop them. All of these worries and doubts swirling in your head agitates you and prevents you from getting enough rest. Overthinkers know the feeling of not getting enough sleep, almost too well actually. Insomnia happens because you have no control over your brain. You cannot shut off the chain of negative thoughts going through your mind at 100 miles an hour. All of the things that worried you throughout the day come back just when you hit the sack, and you feel so wired that you cannot fall asleep. If you are having difficulty calming your mind on your own, you can try different relaxing activities before you go to bed. There are plenty of things that might help you ease your mind just enough to let you get some sleep, like meditation, writing on a journal, adult coloring books, drawing, painting, reading a book, or even just having a nice conversation with a loved one. Do anything that can shift your attention away from the negative thoughts long enough for you to get some sleep. You start to self-medicate? Numerous medical researchers have discovered that most people suffering from overthinking disorder have turned to use recreational drugs, alcohol, overeating, or other ways to get a grip on their emotions somehow. Overthinkers feel the need to rely on external stimuli because they believe that their internal resources, aka their minds, are already compromised. It is never a good idea to turn to try to treat yourself from overthinking. Odds are you will still be overthinking afterward, and you have to deal with a different problem brought about by your self-medication. You are always tired? If you are constantly feeling tired, you need to take action. Fatigue is your body's way of telling you to listen to it because there is something wrong going on. You should not ignore it and just hop from one activity to the next. Usually, fatigue is caused by physical overexertion and lack of rest. However, overthinking can also cause fatigue and exhaustion. Your mind is like a muscle. If you are constantly burdening it with dozens of heavy negative thoughts all the time and not even giving it some time to recover, it will get exhausted and cause you to burn out. Back when humans were still living off the land, people did not have that many things to worry about, which means they do not have quite as many things to think about as well. In today's modern world, people lead complicated lives that require them to accomplish a lot of things in a short amount of time. In this fast-paced world, the need to slow down every once in a while is crucial for people's well-being. So, whenever you feel fatigued, or better yet, if you feel close to it, slow things down and figure out what your body and your mind need before doing anything else. You tend to overanalyze everything. Overthinkers have one major problem, and that is that they always feel that they need to be in control of everything. They plan out every aspect of their lives. Some of them even go as far as planning up to the smallest detail. They feel that doing this is the only way they can feel safe. But it always seems to backfire at them, because it is actually impossible to plan for everything that will happen in their lives. Even so, they still continue to plan out their futures, and they get anxious when unexpected things happen. And they always seem to be unexpected things happening all the time. Overthinkers hate dealing with things that they do not have control over, and they fear the unknown. When unexpected problems do surface, they cause them to sit and mull things over instead of taking immediate action to solve the unexpected problem. Numerous medical studies have shown that overthinking leads to making poor judgment calls, which is why overthinking does not really help. When you catch yourself just before you start overthinking, try your best to bring your thoughts back to the present by taking deep breaths and thinking happy thoughts. Before your negative thoughts go rampant inside your head, acknowledge them and think about what they can do for you presently. Doing this alone is usually enough to get rid of these negative thoughts because you will discover that their only purpose is to cause you stress. You are afraid of failure? You fancy yourself a perfectionist, and you often think about how awful you would feel if you were to fail somehow. This fear of failure can be so strong that it paralyzes you, and it keeps you from learning from your prior mistakes, which often lead to you repeating them. Overthinkers often cannot accept failure, and they will do everything they can to avoid it. Ironically, they think that the only way to not fail is to do nothing at all. They mistakenly believe that to avoid failure, they should not put themselves in a position to fail at all, which also means they are not in the position to succeed as well. Asterisk if this sounds like you. Remember that you are more than just your failures. No one could even remember the last time that you screwed up. It's just you. Also, keep in mind that it is impossible to escape failure, and you should never avoid it at all. For failure allows you to grow and evolve. Asterisk, never avoid it at all. For failure allows you to grow and evolve. You are afraid of what the future holds, instead of being excited about the things that you are yet to experience. Your anxiety and fear of what could go wrong paralyze you into doing nothing. If you are afraid of what the future could bring, then your fear keeps you trapped inside your own mind. Research shows that this fear of the future can be so crippling that sufferers tend to turn to drugs and/or alcohol, so they can tune out the negative thoughts that are clamoring inside their heads. You don't trust your own judgment? You cannot help yourself from second-guessing all of your decisions, from your outfit, what you will be having for lunch, or even what you will be doing for the day. You are always afraid that you will be making the wrong choices. You often rely on others to reassure you that you made the right call. Overthinkers are natural perfectionists. They constantly analyze, reanalyze, and reanalyze again all situations that they find themselves in. They do not want to put themselves in a position where there is even a slight chance of failure. They do not want to make the wrong choice, so they take their sweet time making up their minds. They do not trust themselves enough to make the right decision for anything. They are so out of touch from their intuition that all of their decisions come from their brain. And this is not always right, as there are times when you just need to follow your gut instinct. Also, if your brain is bogged down from dozens of negative thoughts, it is hard to make a clear decision. You suffer from frequent tension headaches? Tension headaches feel as if there is a thick rubber band wrapped around your temples and it is slowly getting tighter. Aside from the headache, you might also feel a sharp pain or stiffness in your neck. If you suffer from chronic tension headaches, it is a sign that you are overworking yourself and you need a rest. And by rest, it also includes rest from mental activities like overthinking. Headaches are a sign that your body needs to take a break. This includes your mind. Besides, you might not notice it, but when you overthink, you are actually thinking of the same things over and over again. Overthinkers usually have negative thought patterns that loop around themselves. To fight this, you need to break this loop by reinforcing positive thoughts. Take deep breaths and focus your mind on every time your chest rises and falls. Being mindful of the present will help you get rid of negative thoughts and the tension headache that came with them. Stiff joints and muscle pain. It might sound far-fetched, but overthinking can actually affect your entire body, not just your mind. And once your physical body is affected by your out-of-control negative thoughts, it will not be long until your emotional well-being gets hit too. Until you address and get rid of the underlying issues that cause you to overthink, the body pains will continue. Overthinking might start in your mind, but its effects will gradually creep into the other parts of your body. You cannot stay in the present. When you overthink, you will find it difficult living in the present moment and actually enjoy your life as it happens. Overthinking causes you to lose focus on the things happening around you. You are so engrossed at thinking about your problems over and over that it seems like you are trapped inside your own mind. If your mind gets bogged down by a ton of unnecessary thoughts, you are removing yourself from the present. And this can and will negatively affect your personal relationships. You need to open yourself to the world around you. Do not let yourself get too wrapped up in negative thoughts. The only thoughts that you should allow inside your mind are those that serve your well-being. Ignore and forget about the ones that bring you down. There is so much beauty in life, and the opportunities for incredible experiences are unlimited. However, you can only appreciate them if you can manage to tune out the idle chatter in your mind and start listening to your heart instead. Different causes of overthinking again. There is nothing wrong about thinking about your problems so you can think of a solution for them. It becomes worrisome when you have a bad habit of twisting narratives around your head until you can see every angle and side to it. Overthinking is not productive, as it just makes you dwell over your problems. You are not looking for a solution for them, and you are only making yourself feel miserable. To find an effective way to break your overthinking habit, you need to find out what caused it in the first place. Below are some of the more common reasons as to why people tend to overthink their problems, rather than actually find a solution for them. 1. Lack of self-confidence. If you are not self-confident, you tend to doubt every little thing that you say or do. When you hesitate, even a little, about the things that you want to do, you are letting uncertainty and fear creep into your mind. And it will be very difficult to get them out of there. You can never really tell what your decisions will take you. Even if you planned every little detail, the outcome will still not be exactly what you hoped for. It could either be better or worse than what you planned. This is why you should learn to take risks and not torture yourself when you did not get the results you wished for. 2. When you worry to muck H, it is only natural to worry when you encounter new and unfamiliar things and events. However, if you worry too much that you cannot even imagine a positive outcome, then it will trigger you to overthink. This is problematic because worry attracts even more problems. Sometimes it creates ones out of thin air, which causes overthinking to go even deeper. Instead of mulling over how things could go wrong, it is better to entertain more positive thoughts. It's like how much better you would feel if a certain event turns in your favor. 3. When you overthink to protect yourself, some People believe that they can protect themselves from troubles whenever they overthink. But the truth is that overthinking is a trap that kills your progress. Overthinking and not doing anything to change the status quo might seem good, but stifling your progress is never a good thing at all. Also, when you overthink, you are not really staying in the same position. You are actually undoing whatever amount of progress you achieved thus far. 4. You are unable to turn off your many. Overthinkers became that way because they cannot seem to get their minds off their problems no matter how hard they try. People who are sensitive to stress live as if they are constantly wound up tightly. They have somehow forgotten how to relax and change their chain of thoughts. Overthinking happens when a person stresses too much on a single problem and he cannot turn his focus away from it. 5. You are always chasing after perfection. Being a perfectionist is not necessarily a good thing. In fact, one could argue that being a perfectionist is not good at all. Most people who struggle with perfectionism are constantly anxious. They often wake up in the middle of the night, thinking of the things that they could have done better. Being a perfectionist causes overthinking because you are always trying to outdo yourself.